well, I think we should watch the second half of our Howard Thurman documentary. So I queued it up. We can review, remember kind of where we left off last week, where the church and some of his fellow pastors were starting to question or notice Howard Thurman's speaking style. And he used to pause a lot, which I guess wasn't really known of. People wanted to
get their words out.
Get a lot out, yeah, because they only had, their time. And so here we go. Where do we go from here? Is that not the 20th century encapsulated? 20th century United States.
Fabulous. And certainly gets us to flow into the Christian National, like Christian National.
Yeah.
That's coming up, doesn't it?
It's right there, yeah.
Nancy, Andrew, JS, what did you think, guys?
Very deep, very deep, very inspiring message.
Why his name isn't bigger or taught in every high school? No. Would there be an MLK without him?
That's a good question.
I hope, maybe.
Not in the way that the documentary presented it, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
I didn't know that he knew Martin Luther King.
Taught
It
him.
was so influential.
Yeah.
On him. I thought it was fabulous.
Maybe without Thurman, King might not have thought about Gandhi as deeply. Who knows?
Maybe not.
This is it.
In the non-violence.
Yeah.
Exactly. What other roots of nonviolent resistance were there from in this country? I would hope it would, heard of or read about maybe some other places besides just the anti-colonialism in India. We talked about something a while ago too. Actually, you guys remember right after George Floyd, our nascent anti-racism group just started what should we do about this? Well, let's start a book club, and we read Caste by Isabel Wilkerson.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking about three major caste systems that were in India, were in Nazi Germany, and most importantly, the Jim Crow United States. And the Nazis really didn't do that much compared to those other two. Actually, Hitler and his friends wrote about learning a lot. How are these American whites getting away with this? Wow, we could follow their model. But the untouchables, the Dalits in India, their caste system, which was woven into their spiritual and religious and political life for millennia, pretty similar, pretty parallel to what people like King and Thurman sought to educate and overcome.
Wikipedia has something for Tolstoyan nonviolence. I've
Tolstoyan.
never heard before. And then they mentioned Cesar Chavez, but I think he learned from us. So that's 1916.
Oh, thank you. Maybe so something.
Never heard of Tolstoyan nonviolence.
Yeah, last time reading Tolstoy, I guess thinking about American nonviolence didn't really. Maybe another reason to read War and Peace through a different lens, I guess.
No.
Did Thurman have anything to do with, did he speak of the source of his hate? Did he speak of something regarding it's in us, this hate is in us? Where does it come from?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I haven't read.
I would ask the same thing. Nonviolence stands out as an exception only because the norm is violence and authoritarianism. And how did that happen?
You mean nonviolence as being the exception to the rule of human society? Whereas most people just, think of an eye for an eye, I'm gonna fight back harder. Someone comes at me with a knife, I'm gonna bring a gun, and it just gets worse.
Right.
JC, I'm thinking of Darwin and, we descend from maybe even fishes, who knows? And so that is a live or die story that goes back forever. Maybe this is just, I don't know the word for that. We inherited this hate and then if we, can survive everything else, maybe in the distance, we will outgrow it.
That's interesting.
But it's interesting when we think of human history, history very often is defined by who the winners are. So,
Who reads the history books? The winners. Not
yeah,
losers.
they get to write, they basically write history. And so, we're not given much insight into humanity's past about other nonviolent groups or societies or anything like that. We only hear largely about the winners.
Great point. And maybe for today's world and looking what we're gonna do with the 21st century, reminds me of, if anybody wants to Google, look up a Yale philosopher named Jason Stanley. He has been writing about propaganda and fascism, and his most recent book is about the American education system, what we can learn. I mean, who writes American history books? The things that, let's say in a state like Florida, only certain histories are supposed to be written or taught, because DEI and wokeness, oh my gosh, that's awful. But I think they're scared, aren't they? Someone like, what's his name, DeSantis? Just calling DEI something awful. It's African American history, and a lot of people don't want kids to know anything about, Black history.
American Indian has a history museum in Phoenix, does the same thing. Their goal is to educate visitors about the local Indian tribes and who they were and why nobody knows anything about them, because they were the losers.
You said it's in Phoenix?
Phoenix, yes.
Is this run by and curated by natives?
Yes.
The Hopi, the Apache, I hope the more local the better. Thank you.
I'm not exactly sure which tribes run it, because I don't remember it specifically. But if it's still around, if it's still open, it would be Googleable.
Thank you.
When was this documentary produced?
Sorry, when?
Yeah, do you know?
I would think, I could look it up for you right now, Andrew. I think just within the last decade, certainly, and something, the many things that Jeffrey opened my eyes to. If you look at PBS and all the films of a director named Martin Doblmeier. Martin Doblmeier did these documentary biographies on 20th century theologians, politicians like Howard Thurman, Dorothy Day, Reinhold Niebuhr, somebody else that we've gone over. But yeah, I want to make sure, if we haven't seen all the Martin Doblmeier films, we should, sooner or later.
Getting back to what you said, Nancy, about where does it come from? And Darwin, maybe it's just become literally part of our DNA as we have.
Oh, that's frightening.
Yeah, it is.
I learned experience that we have cemented.
Right, nature versus nurture. Is this, I mean, just our biology,
Actually,
our intellectual capacity, but maybe if we can, as Darwin could say, evolve beyond being apes, maybe. And I was bored a few weekends ago, late night, I just watched 2001: A Space Odyssey again. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty radical for 1968, starting with apes, Neanderthals fighting and killing each other with bones and swords. And then here we are, now we're human beings, and something might lead us to something better if evolution is right. Maybe we're not the end all be all, maybe we can be something better.
Well, and if you can have something that leads you to something better, which we know exists,
Mhm.
what's going on with this, with, the Freedom Church idea is so magnificent.
Yeah, wasn't that beautiful? I read
Oh, yeah.
San Francisco.
And we have it right here in this room with that, with the film, that meets on, Saturday night with the Hakafa.
Yeah, Hakafa was here last night for their
Yeah.
film study group. Why don't we ask
Yeah,
Rabbi Bruce if we
Yeah.
could make it a bigger thing?
I love that because, we're practicing it right here.
That's right. I'll ask him. I promise, I'd love to. I don't wanna seem like we're barging in, but just show up and expand the conversation.
Mhm.
I'd love it.
And I could put my poster of the Hubble spacecrafts right there.
Okay,
From my trunk, it goes right there.
please.
I'm kidding, but it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Where else to go?
I think one of the things, animals, and we are animals, have territorial rights. Dogs and wolves will stray and so forth, because this is my territory.
Right,
And I think that's part of human nature too, which is sad. But then we have religion, which teaches us otherwise.
Right.
Love your neighbor,
Yes.
don't hate,
Right.
do good.
And
I
honors
thought
our.
his discussion of Jesus was wonderful.
Mhm.
yeah, I know.
He was a man, he was a poor man, he was a Jew. He didn't want to be worshipped, he wanted to be followed. I thought that was beautiful.
There was.
I never thought of it, but that is a metaphor for, we've been given the brain of a human long ago.
But we still have-
And we still have it, and the possibilities of the human aspect of
Yeah,
the animal world.
that's why we have things like education and
Yes,
religion
And
and so
Jesus,
forth, And
I
we'll,
never thought of that, but that's why we might have Jesus, the story of Jesus, that is.
So, right, so where Darwin might, something to discuss and debate with theologians. We're more than just animals, obviously. Even people who are atheists can acknowledge that we are the only animal to have this kind of self-consciousness, first of all, and to be able to want to learn about things beyond ourselves. We don't want to just have our territory and get our food and spray and kill people who attack
some
us.
people do,
Well, that's right.
and that's the problem.
We're living in
That's right now, especially.
That's a big question, why those people are like they are.
Yes, and
And he talks about the European Christianity versus,
Africanity, that's right.
My sister, when that football player with the big hair was, the news.
Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, Kaepernick was on TV and Judy ran up to the TV and she said, kill him,
What?
oh, wow.
kill him. So I called up my son, I said, you gotta take her out of here, I can't ever in the house.
Yeah, he was the person who just took a knee before the game
Yeah.
started. And some people were really offended. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And no team wanted to hire him. He didn't get his contract renewed with the 49ers. And he's gone. I think he's a journalist now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
They love to write about them.
because some people he offended some people, like these, again, politicians, people with the power, how schools get funded and what textbooks kids should be reading. It was on This American Life just yesterday, I believe.
And
So
for a lot of people, that's under Christianity, the title of Christianity.
they'll use Christianity. A lot of people do to make their point or to say this is why I'm right because God told it, or hey, read the Bible, I've got some scripture to back me up on this. But if a white kid is in school and is really offended or hurt or made to feel guilty because a history book says that in the past, whites enslaved blacks. And even after the Civil War, redlined them out of being able to buy a house. So are we supposed to be worried about white kids making them feel guilty about that? Why aren't we just looking at the realities of our history and talk to each other about it? Well, not working in Florida, I know that.
Because the people, or, you know, who scream, kill them,
Yeah.
Can't get beyond the bruise in their head. Something happened. That's how I feel about it. They're the ones that are abnormal.
Yeah. I've heard that.
Oh, God, this is too deep.
I know. I'm sorry, I didn't have any other talking points, but there are
Greg,
too many.
do you remember when we led groups talking about caste?
Yes, the book discussion.
Most of us said, we never learned these things in our schools
That's right.
about the African-American situation.
Mhm. Yes, other than,
And the first time I was ever aware of it, because I grew up in California,
right,
and we have black people in our class, and I never thought about it. I never thought about it. But I went to Texas, and there was water fountains, colored and white.
what year was that?
This was probably 1955,
Okay,
and I looked for blue water.
What?
But they said colored water fountains.
Oh,
yeah,
I looked for blue water. I had no idea.
because a kid in Texas or someone not from Texas going there saying, colored water, what's that? Is it blue?
Yeah, I looked for blue, and I had no idea. I had never been taught that in some parts of our country there was this discrimination.
Well, the truth is out there for
Yeah.
people who are allowed to find it and people who want to search in places like Texas and Florida. It's harder. You gotta really take it upon yourself to go and find it out because schools, libraries probably don't have it right now. What happened? We've made progress before, but it's not
What's
a
going on
linear
now?
progress. Maybe it just goes and has its ups and downs. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. What do we do now? Where do
And
we
now
go
they're
from
taking
here?
it away from schools again, right?
yeah.
That's what I'm saying, yes. Uh-huh.
I think we have to stay very, very current regarding our influence. We have, like Junia thought it was blue water. We have to take on a teaching, well, I hate to use that word because it sounds like instruction. Oh, listen, it's late.
Well, we've got a few minutes. Go ahead.
I can't form it. Forget it.
No, that's right. I know we're getting close. It's what, 9:45? There's a lot more to read. You're making me think of, has anybody read Ta-Nehisi Coates?
What is that?
Ta-Nehisi Coates. His most recent book is called The Message. And he is a professor here, and this last book is about going to the west coast of Africa and learning about his roots and just what there is to learn and what people here today in the United States don't want us to learn or trying to make us forget. The next generation is going to be education policy. It can be scary if you're trying to hide the truth.